Okay, let's get started.
Okay.
Well, today we're having tea with Brandon Bays. She's the author of The Journey. And The Journey is not only a book, but also a method for personal growth. Brandon, hello.
Hello.
Hi, nice to meet you.
And I'm delighted to meet a fellow trainer and teacher of personal growth and self-development work.
Yes, thanks. You started out in your early days with NLP, and you trained with Dilts and Tony Robbins and Bender and Grindler.
Uh-huh.
How did that form you?
You know, it had a major impact on my life, I can honestly say. I know that I learned how to think in a way that was positive both to my own neurology and to my own health, and also speak in a way that would positively impact people. And I had no idea that prior to that I was meaning to say the nicest things to people, but inadvertently and unknowingly I was giving them negative embedded commands. And so I found a way to make sure that all the inner talk and the outer talk is always framed in a positive way. So it uplifts, it helps, it serves, rather than undermining and judging.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
You've worked with Tony Robbins for about 13 years, and you were doing everything right in your life. You were teaching people how to eat and how to live their lives. And then something happened which had major impact on you. Can you tell me about that?
Yes. I'd not only been with Tony Robbins, and this was, again, over 30 years ago that I started with Tony Robbins. I met him when he was 24 years old. But at that time, I was already in the health field. And so I was certified kinesiologist and an iridologist and a herbologist. And I'd been doing all the emotional release work and breath work. And so I was kind of at the cutting edge at that time. And when you think of the 1970s, I mean, I'm 63 years old now, but it was back in the 1970s in New York City, which is where I'm from, that I opened a free of charge healing clinic where we decided we wouldn't tell people how to heal, that we would let them design their own programs, and so they could put themselves on cleanses and take herbs, and they could get massages or acupuncture, or they could get colonics, and they could undergo guided visualization. And the reason I'm giving you this whole background is I had this whole background, and then I met Tony, and at that time when he was 24 years old, his greatest passion was health. And so that was my greatest passion. And so I ended up going on the road with him and ended up moving from New York City to California. And so by the time I was 39 years old, I had been meditating every day since I was 19 years old, eating organic food. 70% of it was fresh and raw fruits and vegetables. The rest was cooked. I was working out every day. I had been doing all the courses and all the work on myself. And I was in a marriage that I felt deeply privileged and blessed to be in, a beautiful family life. And I felt passionate about the work that I was doing. And the reason I'm sharing all this, to give you the background, is that I felt like I was at a peak in my life. And the last thing I ever expected to have happen was to end up being diagnosed with a tumor that turned out to be the size of a basketball. And it really sent me reeling. And it really catapulted me on a deep and very profound healing journey. And part of that healing journey was I found a way for all of us to go on a journey inside of ourselves and get access to something that is called cell memories. And to go through a process of releasing stored consciousness in the body and coming to an understanding of what's happened to you, and ultimately forgiving so that the body and the being can heal. And so it was 6.5 weeks after I was diagnosed that I was in hospital and was pronounced textbook perfect clean, completely tumor-free. And it was really quite a challenge for me, Eva, because at that time I was doing everything right, and I kind of had to throw out everything else I knew. And I was so grateful for the work going on at that time in the field of cellular healing. And Dr. Deepak Chopra at that time, and all of science knows this as well, and we were talking about this earlier,
Yes.
is that when you feel a strong emotion and you repress it, it releases a corresponding biochemistry into the body, which goes to your cell receptors and blocks them, and renders the cells incapable of communicating with the rest of the cells in the body. And if over time illness happens, it happens where the cells are blocked. And conversely, what's also known to be true is that when you feel your emotions quite naturally and openly, like a child does, it comes up and it goes, our cell receptors remain open, and they can see this in a laboratory. And so I knew at that time, because I was really at the cutting edge of what was happening in the health industry at that time. I knew that part of my healing journey would lay in uncovering what was stored, the cell memories that were stored inside that tumor. Although up until that point, no one had given us a method. And I got to tell you something, you can understand the whole way it all started, the way cells heal and don't heal, but unless you have a method, it's no more than a bunch of beautiful inspiration and a vision of possibility, really, and some statistics on a piece of paper.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's about releasing the old emotions and reliving them one more time?
It's actually, most of us haven't lived them.
No.
That's what's
So
happened.
for the first time.
Is you go on a journey inside yourself, where you actually go to certain cellular locations. So it's a very practical, down-to-earth method. And there you uncover actual memories. It's not that you relive them, it's that you uncover what you were really feeling at the time. The stuff you didn't want to say, the stuff you never admitted that you felt, the stuff you wouldn't believe that was really coming up in your mind, and how you were really feeling about it. All the stuff that you kind of shoved under the carpet and pushed into the background. Yeah. And in the journey process, you're given the opportunity to finally just release it all, and then go through a process of where you understand what was really happening to you, what was happening with the other person, and ultimately you end up going through a process of forgiveness. And in my own direct experience, there's something quite profound that happens to you when you forgive. Up until you forgive, it's like you've got this baggage. Okay, I accept my mother abused me. I got that. You know, I grew up in a violent household. I can understand it. I've come to understand what she was going through, what I was going through, la la la.
It's all in the mind.
All in the mind. But it's like this baggage that you carry your whole life long. But when you generally release all that pain, and the rage, and the anger, and the blame, and all the unspoken words, and all the things you never even knew you needed to say about it. And then, when it comes time for forgiveness, you find forgiveness is quite natural. And when you forgive, not from your mind, but wholeheartedly from your heart, it's like that's when you finally let go of the baggage. You let go of the whole story that you've been clinging to. And in my case, I did have that story. And God knows, being in the health field and in the personal growth field for my entire adult life and getting certified in all those areas, you gotta know, I'd worked on that issue. But it's like my mind had worked on it.
Yes, and you missed the emotional and the physical part.
Yeah, absolutely. And my body and my soul were saying, yeah, well, you may think you've handled it.
Yes.
But you haven't really. And so really the tumor was a wake-up call for me to get real and to go someplace much deeper than my mind, to the infinite intelligence that is the soul, to the part of you that makes your heart beat and your eyes shine and your hair grow, to that is a boundless presence of peace that is deep, deep, deep within. And it was at the deepest level that I kind of turned the torch on inside, the flashlight on inside, and at that level I was able to see and experience and undergo the full releasing, understanding, and forgiveness so that my body could heal. And what I'm so grateful for, I just thought it was a spontaneous Sartori awakening experience that had happened to me, always having been on a spiritual path since I was 19 years old, you know. And I was so grateful that it's actually something that hundreds of thousands of people have used around the world to heal their lives and to heal physically on all levels of being, not just tumors and cancer and arthritis and eczema and asthma and multiple sclerosis and depression and whatever you can think of, skin disorders. People have used it to get the emotional root cause of what has put their symptoms in place, what has put the physical in place. And I love it that these days that I am working now with medical doctors, training them, because it's unequivocally established that there is an emotional corollary to every illness that we have. And what I've also found is it's not just about physical healing, it's about healing your life, you know, going on your soul's journey. It's why I called it the
journey.
The journey,
Yes.
really, was to offer people a method where they could go and find the inner guru. You know, it's not about the outer guru, it's about finding your own truth and your own answers and really learning what your soul came here to learn in this life. You know, I'm right here giving the Journey Practitioner program in Minnesota, and today they're undergoing something called the life purpose process, where they're uncovering why did their soul come in this life? What are they meant to learn here and offer to life, to give to life, to receive from life? You know, and when you know who you are and why you're here, you start to feel at home in your own skin. You feel at home with yourself.
And is it for everyone?
You know, as long as you're a human being, yes, it's for everyone.
Yes.
No. My feeling is that if you're living and breathing, the fact is everyone has human emotions. We all have a soul. And what the journey guides you to do is open into the deepest part of yourself, into your own essence, into the soul. And it's at that deepest level that you get your own answers and find your own path and come to your own understanding of what your life is about, what you're meant to learn in life, what all of us are meant to undergo in our lives. So, yeah.
Beautiful path.
Yeah. And I believe each of our paths are unique. I don't believe anyone can tell you what your healing path is. I think part of healing, both emotionally and healing your heart, healing spiritually, healing mentally, healing physically, is that you find your own way to what feels truthful for you, what feels right for you in your life. Because you can only be guided for what feels deeply truthful for you. And that's what I love about the journey, is no one's asking you to believe anything or adopt any ideation or any beliefs about anything in life. They're just saying, here's some work so you can go inside yourself and find your own answers and your own path.
Gives you the tools.
Gives you the tools.
To do some research.
Yeah.
Yourself.
Guide you really to discover the self.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What can people expect of the 3 days intensive?
Okay, well, it takes place at the 3-day intensive, and the reason I call it an intensive is because it's an absolute immersion in grace, where you are rolling up your sleeves and you're diving into yourself, and you're learning both the emotional journey, which is a process that allows you to go down through the emotional layers inside your body and open into the divine potential that is your own essence, that is the love, the peace, the joy that is yourself. And it's at that deepest level that you go on that journey to find the cell memories and go through your process of release and letting go. So you're going through multiple processes in the morning, and then in the afternoon you partner up with somebody and you undergo that, and you have the support of all the trainers. And usually there's one trainer there for every 2 couples working. So a lot of expertise and a great embrace of love. So if anything comes up that you feel that you're not so sure about or can't handle, there are people on hand to support you in having a deep process. Then on the next day is called the physical journey day. And that's the day where you do the actual physical journey that I underwent when I healed from the tumor. And this is the one that's being used in cancer hospitals and by ministries of education and ministries all over the world, actually, are using this process. And it's that's the one where you go inside the body and you go to cellular locations and you uncover the exact cell memory that's stored in that area, going through the process of release. Now, during the day leading up to the time that you partner with somebody, you'll be undergoing other process work so that you're clearing. It's called intensive because it's a massive clear out, and much of that process work is not available in any of the 5 books I've written. Okay, so you're getting the latest up-to-the-minute teachings, and then finally on the last day, the Advanced Skills Day, you're also getting teachings that are not in any book, where the prayer is that when you leave here, let's say you are feeling that you have this energy cord, you know, where it's tying you to an old lover, or to even like someone like your mother or your father, and it seems like you're almost codependently, parasitically living off of one another, energetically speaking. It gives you the ability to find a way to cut all those cords and to allow in a healthy way for them to live in their own experience of what I call source, in their own experience of truth, and for you to live in your own.
Thanks for joining us today with Brandon Bays. If you want to know more about the event in December in Amsterdam, the 3-day Journey Intensive, go to our website unlp.nl. Bye-bye.